Shaun Haney here with RealAgriculture.com and RealAg Radio, Rural Radio 147, Sirius XM. And this week it is Crop Production Show in Saskatoon. Everyone's dealing with the weather as best they can. Old Man Winter has definitely shown his face this week in Saskatchewan. But so have a lot of farmers, as they've turned out in pretty big numbers to go to one of the big trade shows in Saskatchewan here in January. And joining us right now from the trade show floor, it is Ron Kleuskens. He is a technical sales rep with AGI. Ron, great to chat with you.
Good to be here. Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us right from the trade show floor there. Okay, Ron, one of the things that I know you're talking to farmers about this week is dealing with a major barrier or challenge they have in terms of getting everything done when it comes to grain handling on the farm. And we know that we got a real shortage of labor. It's hard to find people to work on the farm. This is true in not just Saskatchewan, but many of the provinces across the country, as well as states in the U.S. How does a grain handling system fit into this discussion?
Like I said, in a lot of cases, guys are having a hard time finding labor, reliable labor especially, and having a material handling system set up on their own farm can really reduce their labor costs, because it turns their farm into essentially a push-button operation where they're bringing trucks in. One fella can unload the truck by pushing a button, and then convey it to whatever bins or storage point that they have. So it does definitely cut down on the labor versus having a couple of fellas around that are moving machines around and have to spot each other. It's already been spotted because it's permanent. So really saves labor-wise for the farmers.
Now, as I'm listening to you say that makes sense to me. Some would say, okay, that makes sense, Ron, but only for like the largest of farms. Do you believe that this is also the case? Is there options available for medium and smaller size farms?
Absolutely. Yeah, a lot of guys, the smaller guys especially, sometimes have even a harder time finding help unless they've got some young adult kids around that can help during the day. Most of them have a hard time finding somebody that isn't already working. They may have a job someplace else. Certainly big elevators can afford to have more bodies around, but they still have to keep those bodies busy. Smaller operations where you've got, say, for example, oldest son's in the combine, wife's in the grain cart, dad's in the truck, that might be the whole crew.
Yeah.
So you don't have really anybody on the farm itself to look after drying setups or making sure that augers are running, any breakdowns that have to happen. So by essentially having a push button operation as far as unloading trucks, filling bins, moving it off to the dryer, that's where it can be a real benefit for a smaller operation.
I'm curious, farmer from, I don't know, Etonia walks into the booth today, and he's, they're like, okay, this Ron, you kind of got me here. This makes some sense. Is there like is there math involved to try to sort out, okay, like there's capital, I'm investing capital up front. And and then I'm like, okay, but if I invest this capital now, I'm able to reduce, 2 employees or 1 employee or whatever the number is. But there's like math, and those employees cost me X. Like there's like some math here for you to sort out, not just like, yeah, you know what? It'd be really cool if everything was automated. Just push a button. That would be awesome. But there's actually like some cost savings to sort out here when somebody walks into the booth, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, everything costs money, depending on the size of the operation. Not everybody has a lot of cash kicking around that they can just throw at stuff. It has to make sense, so there has to be some value in it. I kind of equated the bit to dairy farming, for example, where a tie stall guy, a small tie stall guy, can have the latest and greatest of everything, but he still needs to be efficient. Whereas a bigger freestall guy, he's got more cash floating around. Same sort of deal with farming operations. people with bigger acreages have more cash kicking around that they can invest in stuff like this, but it still has to make sense for them. And for a smaller guy with limited funds and limited capital, absolutely has to make financial sense for them to do it. So they can do it in stages and grow. If they see they've got kids coming along that are still interested in farming and look like they're going to join the operation, plan for it, because that might be the only labor force they have. So there is some math involved. It's math that they need to do, and they should be talking to their accountants and seeing whether it makes financial sense for them to do some of this stuff. But in the end, everybody knows labor costs money. I mean, you got to look after your people, and you need to keep them year round generally. And it's hard to keep an employee around year round on a smaller operation. So this way, if they do manage to find somebody that can be a fill-in during the busiest parts of the year, that's awesome. But in the balance of the year, they can just run their equipment, essentially push buttons. Yeah.
I think you make a good point. It maybe even fits the one-man band, like from a value standpoint. If I'm a one-man band, I'm looking for as many different ways to automate as I possibly can. And maybe the other part of it too is not just the handling, but it's also the monitoring. Also very important, so there's a labor saving component. And we automated the driving of the tractor with auto steer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like we're immune, and automating is not necessarily new. We just need that automation to work. Are you seeing a lot of advancements in the automation when it comes to grain handling? Or are the systems that we have today pretty much similar to, say, 5 years ago? Are there big changes?
There's changes in the way that they operate. In a lot of circumstances, say 10 or 15 years ago, we would have 10 different buttons to push. And we would need to push them in a certain sequence in order for equipment to turn on in a logical order. Now we have computerized panels that I won't say it makes it idiot-proof, but essentially it takes a lot of the guesswork out and makes sure that the components are getting turned on in the correct order, so we're not plugging things. So that sort of advancement has come a long ways in the last, even 4 or 5 years. So we're really making it that much safer for guys also.
Yeah. Well,
because they don't have to go out and unplug stuff and potentially get hurt. But your point about a one-man band, I have several one-man bands in Ontario that have really nice operations, fully automatic, not free by any means, but it just makes their life so much easier, and really safer also.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense to me. And you can say it, Ron. Shaun, it's idiot proof. Even you could operate it. You're able to.
I'm not sure you can, Shaun, but well, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt today.
All good stuff. Well, hey, Ron, I'll let you get back to the trade show floor there, and all the customers. So, hey, thanks so much for joining us here today. Really appreciate it. This has been great to do this from you right on the trade show floor. Really appreciate it. All the best to you.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for the opportunity. Have a great day.